mean the
No, we in the store right here.
the newsstand. He's married. Coming around. Right.
Hello and welcome to the fourth official episode of the What We Watch podcast. I'm your host John, and with us as always is
Jonathan
and
Rustin.
Thank you guys. How are you doing today?
Pretty good.
All right. We're meeting today to discuss several films that we watched over the last week, namely The Fountain, Darren Aronofsky's 2006 film, as well as the Pete Travis science fiction actioner Dredd, and Beasts of No Nation, Netflix's first original narrative film, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As well as several other movies that we watched separately, and the new Star Wars trailer. So, without further ado, we're going to get right to that Beasts of No Nation discussion.
Yeah, let's knock that one out.
So, Beasts of No Nation is a film directed by Cary Fukunaga, whose claim to fame is that he directed the first season of True Detective to much critical acclaim. Very, very popular series. Beautiful direction.
Sin Nombre.
He also directed Sin Nombre, which I don't think a lot of people saw, and he also directed an adaptation of Jane Eyre, which I don't think a lot of people saw either.
Yeah.
But what did you guys think of Beasts of No Nation?
Well, Rustin, go first.
Okay. Well, what can I say on this subject? It was just as a film, it was good, and I'm not gonna say I'm trying to think of the right word to use. Like, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, the subject matter that was in it was just really dark, and it's not something that I would want to see. I liked it because it was showcasing what can happen and has happened, like event. Not I don't know. Is it? I don't remember. Is it based on true events? I mean, it's
not. It's based on the I want to say the memoirs of an actual. It's the film itself is about child soldiers in Africa. In the film, the country is not named where the conflict is happening or where these child soldiers are fighting.
Yeah.
So it's based on actual events, but I don't know how true to life everything in it is. Like, I don't know if there's an actual little kid who the little kid in the film is based on, or if there's a general who or a colonel, whatever it is, that Idris Elba's character is based on.
But it's like first I'll start off with as a film I liked it just because there's nothing wrong that I could see. The only thing that necessarily keeps it from being really great in my mind is just it's just the what it's about. It's just something that it's not a pleasant subject at all. It's just really bad. It's something that a lot of people, most people, especially over here in the Western world, they don't know or experience this kind of thing. Yeah, they have we have really bad things that occur in our world. It's our world, a lot of bad stuff. We have these mass killings that happen, that are publicized in the news, and it's, stuff that's just awful. But I mean, in this film, just what happens to this boy and what's going on to other people around him, it's just it is out of the the fuel of nightmares, just getting thrown into this situation where
I personally didn't think it was that dark. I mean, it was dark, don't get me wrong. Definitely dark, but I don't know, people are losing their shit over this movie.
I think you need to look at it through a context of is it what does dark mean? What's your definition of dark? Is dark just a film about kids killing people, or a woman being raped and then being shot in the head? I think that's dark. I don't know that it's not like Gaspar Noé dark, or even David Lynch dark. I mean, there are different kinds of what I would call disturbing.
I mean, obviously.
And I mean, this film is disturbing more so for the fact that the things that are happening actually happen. It's not disturbing because it's showing a woman getting raped. It's disturbing because of the lack of emotion that they're doing these things with, and the the apathy with which they're doing they're committing these atrocities, and how you're following this character who is just he's the hero of the film, and you're supposed to feel bad for him, yet he's doing all the same horrible shit that everyone else is.
Yeah,
but he's a kid, so you're like, well, he's just corrupted. But
that's what I'm getting at. Is like the film doesn't feel dark. Like it does, like the way it's filmed, the cinematography. Like
I agree.
It's almost like hopeful. Almost.
It's like an adventure film.
Yeah,
you know, and
which is weird.
Yeah, I agree.
But definitely the subject matter is. I want to be. You know,
I mean, especially the introduction to it is his family life and them going around with the imagination television and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's out of a Spielberg. You know what I mean? Like that's out of a Spielberg movie. It's very like nice and kind of like just like an adventure movie with these kids. They just happen to be African kids in this like poverty-stricken nation. But then when it starts to get to the point where people are dying and it gets serious, and you know this kid has to join the rebels and everything, you know, it keeps that tone of adventure-y and everything, but it's gets much darker, which I think is, you know, and I don't know. I really liked it. I thought it was incredibly well made, but it's also one of these movies where like I really liked it, and I think technically it's a great film, but it's also, for some of the same reasons that Rustin just mentioned, I wouldn't want to watch it a lot. I don't know if I'll ever need to watch it again, really. And at the same time, you know, there's a lot of positive things that can be said about it. There's very few negative things that I have to say about it, but it's not something I'm like gushing over. It didn't blow my mind or anything.
I feel like it's a little derivative. Like I mean, it's a good movie, and I'm glad that Netflix is doing this. I think it's a good step forward because
I think it's a good first film for Netflix.
I totally agree. Yeah,
and I think it's a great. It made me really want to see what Fukunaga does next. I would love to see his next film.
But for me personally, especially after just seeing The Thin Red Line again recently, this movie is straight up ripping off The Thin Red Line on several occasions. Cinematography, first of all, several shots where it's like up in the canopy, like looking at the sun, like it's just like straight, like that is Terrence Malick. And then like where the kids are like running to the beach, that's straight from The Thin Red Line as well. But even narrative, like even the narrative, like The Thin Red Line, it starts and it's like, you know, heaven basically, you know, it's like the perfect life, you know, he's like nothing's wrong, blah blah. Same thing as the Beasts of No Nation, and they both get swept up into something they don't want to be a part of, you know what I mean, obviously, and they're drug along this path of, you know, whatever, and they start to do what they're supposed to do, you know what I mean, and instead of dying, the kid escapes it, you know. And it's it felt the same.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's very interesting. That comparison, that hadn't occurred to me at all. But I haven't seen The Thin Red Line in a few years. But I think what separates it from that mainly is Idris Elba's character, which I don't think there's an analogous character in The Thin Red Line for Idris
me
Elba.
Personally, though, is Nick
Nolte is Idris Elba.
No. I think the war itself is Idris Elba. Like, you know what I mean? World War II is Idris Elba. Like, it's because like the character of Idris Elba, does he even have a name outside of Commandant? I mean,
he's
just this. I don't even know what his goal is besides take the capital. That's all he ever wants to do.
Become a general.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, his goal was like to take the capital so he could.
You're talking about his professional goal or his goal as a character?
His goal as a character.
I think his goal as a character is to have power.
That's exactly what it is. What I saw, like his, and this is the thing. Like, I really wanted to see him at the point where he starts to use Agu as to pleasure him. I think in one scene where it just goes straight to pedophilia, and I was like, oh man, this is.
I'll be honest too, I didn't see that coming at all.
I didn't either.
That was actually one of the darkest things, because I was like, and at the end he's just kind of like staggering. So I'm like, I pray they don't show anything. I'm glad they didn't, but I pray that he didn't do anything worse than what I assume was what happened, you know. And but throughout the film, he's, you know, the commandant, he's the leader. He wants the praise from these young men under him. You know, he wants to be in charge, to fight. It doesn't matter. And you know, that point later on where he's not going to be of use, he goes rogue. He just takes his men and leaves, and he just wants to stay in command.
That's where the problem lies for me, though. It's like, I don't know, like what is he like? I mean, I just don't understand his character, I guess. Like,
Well, I think
especially at the end, they're like digging for gold and shit. Like, I mean, I don't even know. Like, I just don't understand what his purpose is. Like, what is he doing?
He's like power mad. He wants control. He controls these kids. He's in a position of power where he can run his child army into these different cities and do his missions, which I don't really think he cares very much about the missions. I think he cares about running this army. And whenever at the end,
that makes more sense. When
he gets to the point where his superior had told him, I'm going to promote you if you do this and this and this. He does this and this and this, and then he doesn't get promoted. He gets, for lack of a better word, butthurt, and he goes off rogue with his band of child soldiers. And I think at the end, they're running out of. They have nothing. They don't have no funding for one. They have no ammo left for any of their guns.
Yeah.
They have no food.
Yeah.
So I think they were mining for gold to get money so they can actually do something. Whenever.
It was just strange to me to have this character with like no real motive other than.
I thought, as far as Idris Elba goes, though, as the performance, I think it was a great performance.
Oh yeah, of
I
course,
think it was phenomenal.
I just feel like
I'm not an Idris Elba fan. A lot of people seem to think he's just the bee's knees or he's such a great actor, but I really, even in The Wire, I don't find him to stand out that much. And I think the best thing I've ever seen him in is The Office. His stint in like 3 episodes of The Office, I think it's the best acting I've ever seen him do until this movie.
He was pretty great in this.
I think he was fantastic in this. I think that's what's the most exciting thing about seeing this movie is the fact that now Netflix is going to get into the Oscar race and it's going to totally change everything, hopefully, and then theaters will just eventually die out and we'll just be able to watch movies the first day in our living rooms.
That would be great. Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at your TV right now. Like, I have no problem watching a movie on this TV day one, as opposed to driving to a theater, avoiding gunfire. Paying $7 for a soda. I mean, fuck a theater. I think it's great that Netflix is doing this, and I hope that they come out with more and more original, great content like this. Because I mean, they've been doing it with the TV shows for a few years now, and it's been good. So just keep going.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up another point. What I was to continue with what I was saying. Like, I really wanted to see him die somehow in a really brutal way after seeing what he was doing. At least to Agu, possibly others.
Sure, he was doing it to everybody.
Yeah. And but after watching it and thinking about it, even though he does not die or get killed in a brutal way, which I was hoping for, he at the end, he loses the one thing he's been trying to hold dear to. What keeps him is his army.
Right.
They leave, and like, he even for a moment still talking to Agu, but Agu's already walking off with the rest of the group, and he turns around, and he's not there. He's nothing now. And so I think in the end, even though he deserves a lot more done to him, I like that he basically loses. He loses. For lack of a better word, just like he's nothing now. He's nothing.
He definitely fails.
I like that. At least that conclusion came there with that character.
I don't really have anything else to say about this movie. Do you?
No, I mean, I just think it's really good, and I
agree.
I feel like
it's hard to. I'm so not taken by it. I like it, but I'm just like, I don't know. There's just not a whole lot to say about it.
Like I said, I feel like it's derivative. Like, it's like, I don't want to compare it too much to the Thin Red Line. It's just like, I just watched this, but it's like, it's the Thin Red Line light with like a way darker theme. Like, that's all that it really is. And it's like, I feel like the character of Agu, was it Agu or Abu? Agu. Yeah, even his monologues, like his voiceovers, like narration, yeah. It was the fucking Thin Red Line. Like, I swear to God, like, he was saying things like, I want to like blot out the sun because I don't, or whatever the fuck. But it was just like, it was like philosophical-esque kind of stuff, and it was just kind of like, it's good. It's good. I'm not hating on the movie. It's just, it's a little derivative, but it is an extremely great step forward for movies. So I mean, and I liked it. I don't know. It's decent.
Yeah. Honestly, people should watch this. And
definitely watch it.
Think like, you think that, stuff over here in the West, like bad things, killings, murders happen. Just think for a second and watch this movie and think, this stuff has gone on and it's still going on in parts of Africa, and you're in a much better place. So just be thankful. That's all I have to say. Be thankful.
Well, scores for Beasts of No Nation. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. And the only reason it's not a 5 out of 5 is because of the whole, it lacks the wow kind of factor. It didn't blow me away. So,
and I actually agree with John there. 4.5 for me as well.
John Mayer? What? I gave it a 4.25.
Oh, dropping at a 0.25 from our scores.
Just not
because it's too derivative.
Too derivative.
Okay.
Derivative. Yeah.
Derivative.
It's
So for we're gonna move right along. Then we're gonna discuss another movie that we all three watched. A little movie called Dredd.
I want to start. Let me start.
And this is not. This
Let
is
me start.
Okay, but I just want to make it clear to our listener that that this is not the Stallone film Judge Dredd. This is the 2012 or 2013 Pete Travis film Dredd, written by Alex Garland and starring Carl Urban and several other people.
The writer wrote what else?
28 Days
Yeah,
Later,
that's-
Sunshine, The Beach, and Ex Machina most recently, which I know you love.
His only taint. That's
Except for the one in between his legs.
yeah.
Okay. So
I want to start.
go ahead.
Dredd. Man, I did not want to see this movie. I did not want to watch this.
Why is that?
It's like RoboCop, the remake, or Total Recall, the remake. It just felt like that. It felt like it's just
I don't understand how you
bullshit.
think that. How do you think that it looks like those films? Because those are remakes of great films. This is
Yeah.
a remake of a terrible film.
That's true. No, obviously, yeah, but I don't know. It just felt like a cash grab pile of shit. I don't know.
All right.
It was not a cash grab pile of shit.
No, it wasn't.
This is this might be the most violent movie I've ever seen. Like, I don't know.
Oh,
Like,
I don't know about that.
It's extreme.
It is violent. Yeah.
It is extreme.
It's very violent. Very graphically violent.
But for me personally, it's the violence is half of it, and just the simplicity of it is the other half. I love when movies, especially science fiction movies or anything like that, like it's like an assumed world. You know what I mean? Like nothing is like explained really. I mean, they do it a little bit in the beginning, but it's just like it's not some epic bullshit. They're just like the camera just drops you in like some small scenario. You know what I mean? Like Blade Runner does, or
yeah.
whatnot. I love that.
I agree. I didn't want to know anything else besides what they told me. They tell you this, whatever. I didn't even need to know about the whole, like, whatever it was, the nuclear war. I didn't need to know any of that. All I need to know is that people live in these giant apartment buildings now. There's like 800,000 people in a building. That's all I need to know. Throw me in.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Really great idea. Really, really great idea. And its execution was, oh, dude, like the violence was, it's hyper violence. It's fucking ultra violence. It's beyond violence. Like
it wasn't
I didn't
shocking,
even feel
though, to me. Like,
I agree.
I want to say
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Like I love the violence in it was great, but it wasn't like some of the violence in, say, The Beast of No Nation. It wasn't like just disturbingly shocking.
Well,
but it
this
was
is like
Well, it wasn't
aestheticized.
realistic. I
This
mean,
is like
Exactly.
this is completely like
Something-
aestheticized violence. Like this is like almost art.
Yeah.
Like
I
the
mean,
way
it
the
is
violence
art.
is.
It's made for entertainment. It's not made to show. It's not made to. I don't think it's made to reflect our societal problems or anything like that. It's literally you're supposed to like cheer when that girl Olivia Thirlby like points the gun in the guy's face and like empties an entire clip into his fucking head and his head explodes. I mean, like that's.
this is the
you
first
know.
film that I think I've seen where violence is literally like trying to be beautiful. Like I can't really think of another movie that's trying to do this. Like especially when at the very end when
Mama.
yeah
Oh,
when
she hits
falls,
the ground?
hits the ground, that
Her
shit
face
looked
splits open?
beautiful.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And they just like make the colors like hyper real and like glistening and stuff. Amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a movie try to do that. And it brings up a lot of like philosophical questions about like is like violence as art or something like that. But it's I don't know. This movie was really really good and blown away by it. Really. I mean, yeah.
So, I have seen this movie before, and you have not.
This is the first time I've seen
Okay.
it.
I saw this movie the first time, and I gave it a 3.5, and I really enjoyed it. And I came into it like you, thinking Rustin had seen it and told me it was good, but I came into it thinking, well, I don't know. Russ and I always don't have the exact same taste or anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know necessarily that I'm going to enjoy it as much as he did. But then I watched it and I was like, well, this is really, really good. But I still had it in the back of my mind that it's Dredd. It's based on Judge Dredd. It's an action movie. There's a lot of CG in it. It's like I had a lot of things that I was like nitpicking, and so it brought me down to a 3.5. When in fact, I think I enjoyed it a 4 easily the first time. But I let the pretentious film snob side of me, get me down. So on this rewatch, I decided not to let any of that affect me, and I rewatched this bitch, and this thing is glorious. And honestly, I'll just say right now that I gave it a 4.5 because it's important to what I'm about to say. I know with certainty that when I rewatch this, it's going to be a 5. And here's the reason why. Not because it's a 5 out of 5 like Apocalypse Now is a 5 out of 5. Not because it's a 5 out of 5 like The Fountain, which we're about to discuss, is a 5 out of 5. It's a 5 out of 5 because I enjoyed it 5 out of 5. Like, it's endlessly watchable. There's not a moment in this film where I am just not like totally enthralled and enjoying.
I want to say though,
this
is an important film. I'm not trying to blow this out of proportion, but like this is like a totally 21st century film. Like this owes nothing to the 20th century. Like this is, like The Fountain and all these movies that we like, they owe a lot to like older directors. Like this is just like new to me. Like I don't like the way it's shot, the like necessity of CGI, and it makes CGI look good. Like there's a few parts where it doesn't look quite as good, but 20 years from now, if they make another movie that's like this, it's gonna be a fucking masterpiece. And it's like the simplicity. It's good.
It's and also I want to say that I was praying, just for the sake of entertainment and discussion, that you were going to hate this. And when I watched it, I was like, Jonathan is not going to like this. Even after I finished it, I was like, this is amazing. Jonathan's not going to like this at all. He's going to give it like a 3 tops. And I was not expecting you to like it nearly as much as you did. And it's such a bummer because I really wanted to like defend it. But now you love everything I love about it.
It brings up it just brings up too much stuff for me. Like, I don't know. I feel like you could write a fucking book about this movie. Like, I'm holding back here. I'm not trying to blow it up.
No.
But I feel like you could literally dig fucking really deep into this movie. And I don't know if it's intentional, but I really think you could. And I don't know. I think it's an important film. I really do.
When I was watching it, like I had just moments where I was just brought back to my first experience with the anime film Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, yeah.
Just there's a lot of, not that it was taking from that movie, but it was a lot of elements that were just very similar, and it had that.
Well, they do the same thing. They do the assumed world, like they drop you in.
It's a single day in the life
great.
of Dredd, and you don't know anything about this guy. He just appears. He's this like hardened, judge.
By the end, though, you know everything about him.
Yeah. And
I think it plays like an episode of a show. It plays like a bottle episode of Dredd, the TV show, where like it's not about his day-to-day life or anything. It's about one job that he did one day.
Yeah.
Like, and the next day you get the feeling that he'll go out and do the exact same thing. He'll go out and have to like kill drug dealers all day and like, murder people. And that's his job. It's what he does, Yeah, and I think the idea, what makes the whole thing so intriguing to me, even beyond the apartment complexes that hold all these people and the cities being in ruin and everything, which I think is really cool, the assumed world like you talked about. What's so interesting to me is the concept of judges, like these guys who go out and are able to arrest, kill. They make their own judgments, and it's
the
totally
judicial
legal.
system. The judicial system is like. It's too much. There's too much crime for the judicial system now.
They'll just take care of it in the streets. Like they see somebody doing something wrong. Okay, I'm going to make a judgment right now and kill this person.
Yeah,
it's genius, and it just makes for such a smart action film.
One of the things I like is one scene whenever they're walking with it was Judge Trainee Anderson and Dredd were walking into the peach tree, and there's this homeless guy like sitting in between the door loitering, and he looks at him and he's like. Rookie judgment, and he's like, and she said, loitering something, the 2.5 years in the ISO cubes minimum, and he's like, but which takes priority, sir? The investigation of Peachtree takes priority, and he turns to look at the homeless guy's like, don't be here when we get back. It's just like they will they're like they have no like sympathy. Like if you're breaking the law, if it's obvious, like they're gonna cast judgment.
The law is and I think that's.
But they're limited. I'm sorry, but they're limited with how many judges are out there, and if there's a case that's higher priority, they will go to that. And if this is like a misdemeanor crime, which is evidently that, they'll let it go only if that person ceases and and leaves. That's probably one of the only ways that they would overlook something if they have something pressing to get to, like a murder scene.
And I think that very thing is the only way you get any kind of insight into who Dredd is. And I don't think it's important to know who Dredd is. Like, because you don't ever. There's a reason he doesn't take off his helmet throughout the entire film, and the reason that in the comics he never takes off his helmet either, and that's the reason is because it's not important who he is as a person. He's not a person. He's a judge. Like that's the character. You can get interested in who Olivia Thirlby's character or Anderson is in the film, and she takes off her helmet and she's a pretty girl, and you can she's the audience surrogate if there is one in this film, right? She's new to everything. But Judge Dredd is just Dredd. I mean, that's who he is. He's in his name. His reputation precedes him. Everybody knows who Dredd is. More so. Like I love the fact though that everybody knows who Dredd is and they're afraid of him. But they're afraid of all judges. Like judges are feared in this society, and I love that they set that up so well, even in the first few minutes. That by the time he gets there and they lock him in. And Mama says, I'm putting I want these judges dead or alive or whatever brought to me. Even then, even by that point, I know that everybody fears judges so much that I'm like, wow, that's a badass move. That this chick is serious.
Yeah.
And then it builds her character up. And I'm like, now I know she's a serious, big gangster kind of person, And I remember the first time I saw it thinking, this is going to be ridiculous. Like, this woman is supposed to be in charge of this whole thing and, this operation, but she's fucking insane.
I really like the female power in this. Like, I really do. Like, she's an extremely strong character. And honestly, even the trainee, I really like the trainee. When the movie started, I was like, this is going to be a shitstorm. This cannot be good. But she fucking ruled. And her acting was good, and her character is cool, and it's the psychic abilities really worked well.
That was one thing I had a big problem with the first time I watched it. I think that was the thing that really brought it down for me was the fact that she was a psychic, and I was like, it plays into this supernatural kind of arena, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But watching it this time, I love how it's used. I love that
it's perfectly used.
I love that she reads the guy who's there take a prisoner, the guy from The Wire. They read his mind so much, and he's thinking about raping her in his mind and all that. And he's they're playing head games with each other. I love that. I mean, it's just it works so well.
It was really good.
That reminds me of Total Recall, the mutants. I mean, that was a good idea. She's not just a psychic; she was born she's a mutant from radioactive fallout. That was the little backstory they had, which to make that make sense in a way that why she's psychic. And it was used in another science fiction film. It was great though. I mean, it works for me.
And I also love that they send in the other judges.
Yeah, they have the
when that happened, I was like, love this movie. I was just like, fuck yeah. They're they have a price. That's so good. And then Judge Dredd's like, what's your price? Or whatever the fuck.
He's what's who is it? One of them's a rookie, another one's Dredd. It's 1 million just for one. It's Dredd. 1 million. These guys know who Dredd is.
And that scene when he has to take all those guys out is a great. I mean, it's just a great action scene. Even beyond the fact that it's overly violent, graphically violent, hyper stylized. But it's just the direction in this picture. Nobody talks about this movie, but the direction is incredible. And
the stylized stuff, I want to say just a quick note, is totally necessary.
I agree.
This movie is bordering on
it's a comic book.
It's bordering on comic. It's bordering on
Sin City.
Sin City.
Yeah.
It's bordering on that. I love that. It's so good.
Remember the gangs that were previously showed just briefly in the beginning where Malmo took those other gangs out. There was the
I love that. Yeah,
there was the Peyote Kings.
They
all had tattoo markings. My favorite though was the third one called The Judged, and they all had they had judge tattoos all over their heads, the helmets and stuff.
That was incredible.
That was hilariously cool.
This is these tiny insights into what the world is at this point.
People don't understand that when you give people a little bit, their imagination fills in the rest. When you
Yes.
explain everything, you're limiting.
It's boring.
It's boring, and you're just limiting the imagination, and I hate that. I really hate that.
I completely agree. How'd you guys feel about the score to the film?
6 out of 5. No, I'm just kidding. No, it would. This movie, like you, will go up.
Yeah.
The more I watch it. This movie infinitely rewatchable, and I'm pretty sure if I can remember,
It's going to go up to a 5 for me next time I rewatch and score.
I gave it I
already
just
know
gave it a
already.
solid 4.
Yeah, you gave it a 4.
Yeah.
Like I said at the beginning, this would be... well, first of all, though, before we... See, you guys fucked up because I was going to do something here. Before we give it
I apologize.
our ratings...
I already said it. It's a 4.
Judgment time.
So, what your rating is a 4. Mine, like I said at the beginning, is a 4.5. I'll probably go up to a 5 on a rewatch. This movie fucking rules. I have nothing bad to say about it anymore.
And the thing is, like, mine probably should have been a 5. I actually, it's 4.8. So next time I watch it, it's going to be 5.
Just say 5.
I'll just say 5, I guess.
But
I see,
you rated it at 4.8 though, but it'll go up to 5 for sure.
Just say 5.
So that's
freaking awesome.
Next, we're going to discuss Darren Aronofsky's 2006 sci-fi drama, The Fountain, which I watched with Rustin. Which I watched with Rustin earlier last week, and Jonathan watched on his own at some point this week.
Yeah.
This was my 3rd time seeing this movie. 4th time seeing this movie. I watched it in the theater.
This is my 4th time as well.
Yeah, I watched it in the theater. I've watched it 3 times now at home. And like with Last Temptation of Christ last week,
Yeah.
this is by far the most I've enjoyed this film. I gave it the highest score it can possibly get, and I know we're supposed to wait for the scores, but this is just
5 out of
this
5?
film is perfect, and there's it immediately jumped 23 spots for me on my top 50.
Damn.
And it's number 3 for me. It's perfect.
We
it's
should have waited
beautiful.
to do the top 50s.
And can
'cause
I
swear to
can I
God.
just say?
Yeah.
I'll just say right now, all hyperbole aside, that Hugh Jackman gives the greatest performance ever committed to film in this movie.
Yes.
And I have no problem saying that. Daniel
Wow.
Day-Lewis and De Niro be damned. Brando be damned. Olivier be damned. Hugh Jackman's performance in The Fountain is the greatest performance by an actor
Jesus
in the
Christ.
history of cinema. Go ahead.
I really hope Hugh
I'm
Jackman
not ashamed, and it's not a joke. I'm serious. It's
Rustin.
the best performance.
I
Rustin,
really
you-
hope Hugh Jackman comes into like my place of business one day, and I can just I
Drop on your
know
knees
that
and
would
suck
never
that
bother
cock.
any.
Just,
Wow. I don't want to bother
You're peeking
anybody.
the fuck out of your mic.
But
There you go.
I
That's
don't want to
better.
shake his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I loved this film the first time I saw it in 2006. I mean, in the theater, it was great to see in the theater. I don't think the score didn't go down for me, but it's worn off a little bit. Like, it's not as impactful as it was because I know exactly what I've seen it like 4 times now. It's like I know exactly what the fuck's gonna happen, and I remembered everything about it. I think I watched it like a year ago, so it's
well, I hadn't seen it that recently, and it made me cry.
It made me tear up the first time I saw it, but
It
I've
did
teared up-
me.
I've teared up every single time I've seen
A
it, except for the
lot.
first time I saw it. It didn't tear up, but that was because I had a grudge against it.
It's hard to watch. I mean, it's hard to watch certain parts, but I don't know. It's still really good. It's a really great film. 5 out of 5.
Well, that's it. I really thought we were going to have a big discussion about this one.
Well, I hadn't even
We
started
can.
talking. Like, I
Yeah, go
was
ahead.
really just moved by it, and I'll put this out there. Like, I was about a year ago, I had to deal with thyroid cancer, which they successfully removed the cancer on my thyroid and removed my thyroid basically. And I've been scanned and checked, which I'll have to continue to do for a while, every 9 months to a year. But so far, I'm clean and I'm healthy and I'm good, and thankfully. But just going through like the fear and unknowing about it, and like seeing what like Hugh Jackman he goes through when trying to figure out a cure or something for brain cancer or whatever tumor that Rachel Weisz's his wife has. Like it's just seeing that drama, that struggle,
Yeah.
and then they're like displaying that through like that story she was writing, and I mean, I was just welled up with tears like I don't know, at least 3 times in the movie at certain parts, like especially towards that part whenever she in that world is telling him it's okay to like let go. It's just that it just really got to me, and just the acting, both of them, just the acting. I mean,
I agree.
great.
Not to take anything away from Rachel Weisz. I mean, she did a fantastic job as well.
Yeah, she's actually probably my favorite part of the movie.
Everybody
she's really,
did
really
great
good
in it, but
it hit me really hard emotionally, but in a good way. It wasn't, and that's really what just made me enjoy it so much. Not just because it visually and was made well, just emotionally got to me. That's like how you make a perfect film, is just when you hit you on all
for
levels.
me though, it's more than that. It's more than just like trying to make you cry or something like that. This movie, special effects, incredible. It still looks really good, and the narrative.
I think the special effects are like, I think he was smart to do it the way he did it, and it gives it like this kind of like timeless. It doesn't seem like it came from 2006. It doesn't seem like it came from 1986. It doesn't seem like it comes from now. Like, it just seems like it's like I can't tell. I can tell there are special effects going on, but I can't tell how they're achieving them all the time. And so, it's not like when you see a movie from 2003 and they're using CG and you're like, oh, it looks really CG, But
the only time I saw kind of a flaw was whenever the Inquisitor is like judging people, you know what I mean? And they're like being raised up. It looked like it was green screened, obviously.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I watched it on Blu-ray and it was just like, I guess you guys did too.
We did too. Yeah.
But it just looked a little green screen. But whatever.
I don't think it was.
Watch it.
Yes,
we did actually.
Watch it again.
No problem.
That was great though. Holy shit, the Inquisition scene.
Yeah,
he's like whipping himself. That still rules, and all the Aztec stuff, amazing. Mayans.
When you're watching it, you're seeing this man who's dealing with the dying of a loved one, and he knows she's going to die, but he's trying. He thinks that he's got hope because he thinks that he can change that event from happening, and you're just like, well, okay, so I understand this character. I get what he's going through, and it's really tough, and he's crying sometimes. He gets mad at people because they don't understand, and then she dies. Spoiler. And he goes home. And he decides he lost his wedding band. He decides, I'm going to tattoo a wedding band on my finger.
Yeah.
And during that scene,
that's where
he loses control.
He's not.
Like, he did lose someone, clearly.
Yeah.
He's blubbering. And it would be, from any other actor, I think it would be embarrassing to watch. I think it would be too. But for me, that was the part. I mean, I was devastated for him.
It would be like watching Tobey Maguire cry at the end of the Spider-Man movie. That was like one of the most embarrassing scenes I've ever seen.
No, but for real, I thought the exact same thing. Like when he was doing that, I was like, there's no way. Like his dad died when he was young or something.
Yeah.
That he's thinking of something
channeling
real.
Something for real there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I mean, there's just no way that I don't believe another actor could pull off that face that he's making during that scene, that kind of like raw, I mean, he's putting himself out there, he's showing you a personal moment it's genuine in that, I think, like we said, he's channeling something that actually happened, but he's still acting. It's just incredible control and an incredible performance. And I mean, I'm not, Hugh Jackman's a good actor. I think he's a very underrated actor. I think, but I mean, I'm not saying that he's, on the level of these other people who consistently give those kinds of performances, but this performance is better than anything I've ever seen for me.
That's bold, but
sorry.
I mean, it's hard to argue. I mean,
and the score for this film, much has been said. Clint Mansell and Mogwai did the score together, and this score is just absolutely phenomenal. Like, there's not a bad note in it, and it really contributes to the whole mood of the piece. And you know, even the scenes where you do get emotional or characters are emotional, it really helps with that. And just a beautiful little film, you know, great little picture. I gave it a 5 out of 5. If this had been my first time seeing it, I would have given it a 17 out of 5. It's phenomenal.
Same here. It's like I love the movie, and I've always been an advocate for this movie, even in the face of doubt.
Yeah, I remember, not from me, not from me.
You did not enjoy this movie the first time you saw it.
let me put this out there. Let's tell the story for real.
You did not like this.
Bullshit.
You're covering it up.
That is not true. That is not. If I didn't like this the first time, I would tell you. I told you about Last Temptation. I didn't even finish it.
PG-13. I won't like it.
Okay, when this movie first came out, it was 2006, and yes, I had a bias against PG-13 films because of Spielberg's involvement with the invention of that rating.
Hell yeah.
And at the time, I did not like Spielberg at all. I had no appreciation for him, which has also changed slightly. And so, yeah, when this film came out, Darren Aronofsky's first film that was PG-13, no, I'm not into that. It's bullshit. And it looks like him bowing down to the MPAA, who are a bunch of fucking, you know, evangelists.
Yeah.
So I wasn't interested. And you saw it in Tennessee with Allison, and you came back home and told me it was great. I remember you specifically mentioned the scene where he's walking through the snow and all you hear is his footsteps, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that sounds really cool. And you made it sound great. And I was like, well, I'll go see that. Went to go see it, missed the first maybe 6 minutes of it. Really did.
Blasphemy.
Somebody was down in the aisle making a phone call during the part where I came in, so they were talking.
Wow.
Saw the whole movie in the theater, left. It was like 10 o'clock at night. Didn't think too much of it. Thought it was good. Didn't want to admit it was good. Wanted to hate it because it's PG-13. I hate it. I just like, that was the mindset back then.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was 20 years old.
I remember seeing it though, and like I was like, I don't see how this movie can be rated R unless you just throw in a couple F-bombs or just like show her tits or something. I was like, well, all that's unnecessary. This movie's great. I don't know. They could have like dropped a few curse words and made it PG for
that's the whole problem. That's my whole point. Is that now thinking back on it and reevaluating the rating system, I wasn't mad. I was at the time, but I wasn't mad that it was rated PG-13. I was mad that it was rated. I was mad that there are ratings. There should not be ratings.
Yeah.
There should not be a rating system. No one has the right to tell a movie that it's rated something, that it's higher or lower than something else, that it's more offensive or less offensive.
It's for the
kids.
Else.
At this point now, okay, it's for the kids. Yeah. How many kids do you know who are watching The Fountain?
I think there should be only like child okay and not, you know, or like just like if it's like if it's a kids movie and you're not sure, it like has like kids or like C rating. You know, I don't know what the fuck. You know what I mean? Like that'd be cool.
No,
you're not even into that.
No, I'm not, because the only films that should be rated child okay are children's films, and if they're a child's film, you know that it's child appropriate. If it's Iron Man, who are they making Iron Man for? Is that made for us?
No.
Is it made for a 13-year-old girl or a boy?
It's made for no one. It's made for the garbage can.
Okay. It's made for little kids.
Yeah.
Okay? And if adults want to see it, that's fine. But they're made for children. They're child appropriate. It's fine. If you're making a movie about two people who meet and fall in love, and then their marriage falls apart and they start to hate each other, that's not made for children.
Oh yeah.
So it's not child appropriate. It doesn't matter what's in it. It doesn't matter how many times they say fuck in it. It doesn't matter how many dick shots there are in it. It doesn't matter. It should be not rated. It's an adult film.
I agree.
Kids, and if you're a parent, do a little fucking research. Sorry that there's no number or letter on the poster to tell you whether or not to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Do a little research. The internet exists. Go read about what it's about. And then if your kids want to see it, let them see it if you think it's appropriate. If not, don't let them see it. That's what I'm saying. It's just censorship. That's all the MPAA does is censor.
My biggest thing is like the rated R plus. Like, what is the point of that? Like, once you're rated R, What the fuck? Why is there an NC-17? Like, why is there anything higher than that?
I don't understand. Well, it
doesn't make any sense.
But it's like
you're already seeing. Like, I don't like. What's the point?
Well, because I mean, that's the whole thing, though, man. Is that the reason that there's an NC-17 rating is so that they can stop movies from being shown.
That's what I'm saying.
If they put you an NC-17 rating, the studios aren't going to release your film.
Yeah. And
the theaters aren't going to show your film.
Yep.
Okay, I've seen one NC-17 movie in the theaters in my whole life,
and it was
Killer Joe.
Oh, okay.
Which in a couple of years will probably be re-rated R because the things change. I mean, Midnight Cowboy's rated X when it first came out. Now it's like barely an R. You know, it just doesn't matter because like times change. It's like back in the 1800s, women weren't allowed to show their ankles. Now women can wear thongs. I mean, it just doesn't matter. You know, it's like times change. Puritanical laws get abolished. People change. But the MPAA wants to control and manipulate. They're like if you've ever seen the film Clean Flicks, which is a documentary about this Mormon guy who edits movies down into PG versions of rated R movies. That's what the MPAA wants to do. That's what they do. Aronofsky will bring them The Fountain, which probably had a couple of scenes of him ramming his sword through some Aztec warriors, or like slitting that guy's throat was a little bit more graphic or something. Or you saw Rachel Weisz's ass or something at one point, and they said, okay, this is R, you got to remove this and this and this. And Aronofsky says, well, I really don't want to remove those things because that's part of my film. I'm an artist. I make a film. Like, I'm a filmmaker. And the studio says, well, fuck you. We gave you the money. We want to release this movie because we actually want to make our money back. So you're going to remove those things so we can get a PG-13 rating so we can actually release this thing and get money back from it. Because nobody wants to go see a rated R movie with Hugh Jackman. He's Wolverine. Okay. So he bows down and he says, fine, I just want people to see my film. That's what the most important thing is. And then it comes out and it's fine. Like you said, I agree. I think it's fine. It works as a PG-13 movie, but that's not the point. Like, the point is that Aronofsky had a vision, and his vision is not fully realized.
Do you really think it was edited?
I mean, he says it's editing in the movie. This film is not yet rated. He says he did that.
Oh,
so
shit.
It's like, yeah, it may work still as a PG-13 film. I still think it's a great film. It's still amazing. It's still my third favorite film of all time. But I don't want to have to look at what the MPAA thinks is the best version of the film. I want to look at what the filmmaker thinks is the best version of the film. And it is fucked up, and that's why movies should not be rated. And I want to tell a quick anecdote about the movie Bully, which is a documentary about bullying that came out a couple of years ago. The Weinsteins released it, and when they released it and they gave it to the MPAA said this movie's got to be rated R because it's got the word fuck in it, and they call a little boy a faggot or something like a couple of times. And the Weinstein says, well, we don't agree. We want everybody to be able to see it, so we're just going to release it unrated. Thanks but no thanks. What does the MPAA do? Do they let them release it unrated?
No,
they piss their pants. Oh God, if we let them release it unrated and it's a success, people will realize that we don't need to fucking rate movies. Okay, PG-13, is that okay? Oh yeah, sure, great, thanks. So then they release it, PG-13, massive success, right? I mean, it's so transparent, it makes me so fucking irritated. Like, the MPAA is the worst organization, I swear. And the way that they do things, there's no rhyme or reason to it. You'll hear other people talk about how, oh yeah, like, you know, according to MPAA, you can have like 2 fucks in a movie, but you can't have 3. Bullshit. Like, watch Gunner's Palace. Watch Bully. There's I think 150 uses of the F word in Gunner's Palace. But the filmmakers successfully argued that it's educational. It's about this war situation where these soldiers are in this intense situation. So that's the way they talk, and that's fine. It's just documenting that. But it's like another movie would come along, same thing, and they wouldn't be able to argue it because there's different people on the panel that day, and it's like it was founded by the religious right to censor movies through this like charade of, oh, we need to make movies safe for children. We need to make movies safe for families to be able to go see them. I mean, it's bullshit. It comes out of that old Hollywood, film code where you couldn't show people dying, you couldn't show couples sleeping in the same bed. I mean, it's just mental. Like, they want to shield you from what is actually happening in reality, what is actually happening in society. Which is that,
I mean, it's not like it's television. It's not like you're like even television. it's not like you're forced to see these things. You're going to see them. And like you said, it's the 21st century. The fucking internet is so invasive in our lives. It's like, just look it up.
Right.
Like, if I have a kid and I'm not sure about a movie, just fucking look it up. You can see you can see a million reviews. You can see exactly what's in the movie.
I completely agree.
Bam.
I completely agree. And it's a sham, But the MPA is not going anywhere, especially not until the theaters go away. I mean, that's its main, So hopefully, like I said, there'll be some donation. I'll abolish the theaters. That'd be great. And then we'll just it'd be great if all the theaters would go away and we could just have maybe like single screen movie houses again.
Oh, dude.
Where they just showcase the creme de la creme, like the absolute best of the best films, like maybe only open during, like, only show new films during award season. The rest of the year show classics.
That'd be great.
But that's never gonna happen. That's like my cream dream. That's not gonna happen. So, anyways, like I said, The Fountain's a 5 out of 5 for me. It's with a like on Letterboxd. I mean, I love it. So,
yeah, for me, my first time seeing it, my very first, 6 out of 5. It just, and like it was. I can't think of the words to use for it. It's just, other than just phenomenal,
mind blowing.
And mine was a 5 out of 5 as well. I think I mentioned that earlier.
How could it not be? All right, so now we're going to get to our namesake segment, the What We Watched portion of the show. Yes. And this week we're going to do things slightly differently. We're going to, instead of each of us just burning through every single film that we watched, we're going to take turns and tell what we watched individually, one movie at a time.
All right.
Jonathan will start that since he's got his list out.
All right, cool. The first thing I rewatched was The Fountain. Skipping that.
All right, so Rustin? No, I'm just kidding.
No. After that, rewatched Whiplash.
I rewatched this also. I'll get to it.
Gave it a 4.
You hated this movie.
I didn't know. I did not hate this movie. No, I really enjoy this movie, but at the same time, like, especially watching it, this is the second time I've seen it. Just parts of it were just not good to me. Like, especially when he gets in the car wreck. I just don't like that at all. And then he like stumbles to the place and tries to play drunk. That just bothers me. I don't know why, really. I think it's just a little bit maybe too extreme. Like, it's going too far. Like, this is just, we're entering into unrealism now. And I don't know, performances, obviously good. What's his name? The
J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, Simmons. He's good. Another example of extreme in a not good way at times.
Complete agreement.
Like,
I think he goes way too far.
This guy literally can't exist in our society.
Right.
Like, in an establishment like a school like that, this man cannot exist.
The fact that he throws the chair at him at the beginning when he's drumming, I'm just like, now if that had happened any other way other than him ducking, if you had actually hit him with that chair, that's the end of your career. And you're probably going to go to jail.
Not even that, but whenever he's slapping him to get the tempo, he's slapping termination. Like, you're gone. Right. Like, there's no fucking way. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, and I'm not trying to like push a bunch of realism into this movie, because I think it brings up really good questions of, the absurdity of precision in music and how perfection in music is bullshit. Basically, it's fucking bullshit. It's an impossible goal that only fucking retards that make jazz like him do. And I mean, you can tell at the end of the movie, like when he's in the jazz club playing like this like bullshit elevator music.
That was horrible.
I was like, dude, you're a shitter. Like, this is total crap. Like, and that whole mentality of just perfection is just total fucking bullshit to me. And I love jazz. I love old school jazz, like Bird and like stuff like that, and Coltrane and stuff like that. But this is just, I don't know. This is not something that.
Well, they're not playing jazz though. They're playing like this.
They're playing like bebop, and it's
they're playing like jazz fusion from like the 70s, And like you said, it plays as elevator music a lot of the times, and even the stuff that they're playing as a full band, like the song Whiplash and the Caravan and those kinds of things. I mean, they're not interesting. Like, they're just they sound like modern compositions by
Like I was talking, exactly,
by composers. You know what I mean? So I mean,
I was talking to Allison while we were watching it, like right after it ended. I was like, that's like the perfect example at the end when he's playing in the bar and he's, sure, the band is playing it perfectly and there's precision and whatnot. But listen to what they're playing. The progressions, the chord progressions, they're fucking awful. Like there's no thought into the actual music. It's all about complications and making it, precise. And it's just, I don't know. It's just terrible. But that's kind of beside the point. The movie, as a movie, I guess, it's pretty good. I don't know. I don't think I need to see it again. Seeing it twice was good. And I'm just kind of done. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a while. Since
a little overhyped, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it, but like there is like something in. I forget where it was in the part. It was one of the parts where the kid was practicing like intensively in his room, and he had
that was
like
good.
Pictures of like
Buddy Rich
and stuff on the wall, and had like something written. It was a quote like, "If you don't have like." I forget what it was. If you don't have extreme training or precision or skill, then you're just a rock drummer. You're nothing. It's like I love drums. Like I play drums, and like I'm not like musically trained. I just naturally had like the feel for it. But that just hearing that kind of thing, and so many like drummers and musicians like worship Buddy Rich. I'm like, fuck you, Rich. I'm like, just because
you're taking it personal.
I got that took it personally when I saw this stuff, and like. And I'm going off. That's not really the subject of the movie. Like, but I'm like,
oh no, it is.
Well, Buddy Rich plays a huge part in the film.
No, it is.
As being an idol of all the characters.
It just it's like, that guy was extremely gifted, and he could just sit down and play like with extreme precision these like complicated rudiments, and he could be like eating breakfast, and he's over here going with one hand, like doing like single stroke rolls and crap with one hand. But just hearing that, like you would. Think someone like that would try to. That thought is, I guess, to drive people to play harder, but at the same time, it like for me, it would like for people that aren't necessarily jazz precision, like to have that. I don't know what I'm getting at here. I just like it pissed me off.
Fuck Buddy Rich.
Exactly.
I think the character in the movie realizes that at the
Miles
end.
Teller.
Yeah. I think he realizes that it's not about learning these learning. It's not about learning someone else's stuff. It's about like creating your own. And at the end of the movie, he obviously improvises. He creates his own.
I think that's okay. I'll go ahead and I'm not going to talk about this movie also because I don't want to just rehash everything.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying, especially about J.K. Simmons' performance. And I don't think his performance was mind blowing or anything or worthy of the highest award an actor can receive. But the part at the end where he does play that solo, when he starts playing that song, that's my least favorite part of the whole movie, and it's the part that drags it down for me, and why it can only be a 4 out of 5. Like it can never get above that for me because I think that scene makes no sense at all, logically or like spiritually within the film. I don't think it makes sense.
How so?
Whatsoever, because I felt from my perspective, the whole movie is about a mediocre drummer who's in a jazz band who can't really hack it. The guy sees something in him, think that he could be great, but he just never really achieves it. He quits, and when he comes back after quitting, suddenly he is the best drummer in the world.
Yeah.
I don't get why suddenly he's amazing and J.K. Simmons is all of a sudden like, wow, this is incredible. Yeah, and he starts conducting him and stuff. It was just, and that part alone, like even if that made sense, that scene is so hard to look at. It's just like cringeworthy. Some of them, like he's like, yeah, like some of the faces he's making and shit. I'm just like, yeah. He's doing like the like bring it, slow it down. I was just like, it's so bad, and it
agree.
hurts me to look at that.
I agree.
And so that scene's really problematic for me. But the rest of the film, I don't mind the car crash. I do think it's outlandish and unrealistic, but it's like I don't find the movie to be terribly realistic to begin with. I mean, what kid who's 21 is obsessed with jazz drumming to the point where he has nothing in his room but a mattress and a picture of Buddy Rich, and he just like stares? I mean, it's just like ludicrous. Like, no, this is not real.
Yeah.
Nobody's like this, But I love one thing that never gets talked about. I really love Paul Reiser in the movie as the father.
Yeah, he's good.
Very, very calm, very normal, controlled performance. Not trying to be funny at all. Just being the caring father, like who clearly like I don't. Did he say his mother died? I don't even remember.
Yeah. Or no, left.
The mother's not in the picture. They hang out. They watch old movies together. I like that, and you get the feeling like he's not even really interested in old movies. He only does it because he's hanging out with his dad, and his dad's into old movies.
Yeah.
That'll be me and my kid one day. We'll be watching movies. He'll hate them, but he'll watch them because he wants to hang out.
Want to watch this piece of shit Whiplash?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's decent. It felt like borderline. Besides all the cursing and yelling and shit, it felt like a Disney movie. Like the way it paced. It was just it was like
it did.
Kid goes to this, gets better, and I just felt weird.
Like a competition film.
Yeah,
like
and
Sister Act kind
yeah,
of thing.
it just felt weird.
Or Sister Act 2, I think, is the one where they go.
Especially
to
for like Oscar types, I was just like, it just felt weird.
I agree. I don't find the direction to be very impressive, and a lot of people talk about the editing, and like I've read articles where like it's a master class in editing, and I'm just like, it's a master class in editing because they like cut to the trumpets when the trumpets are playing for a split second. They're like, that's not something that's new. And it looks like a music video when they're playing music, and I'm not interested in that. I don't think it looks very interesting. It's not compelling to me visually at all. And I mean, it's weird because I feel like I'm shitting a lot on the movie, and it's a 4 out of 5. I like the movie a lot, and I'll rewatch it. I own it. I think it's great, but like, it's just not. It's more of like I tend to be harder on movies that could be great and aren't great, that like could easily cross that threshold and could be amazing. Like movies about people who are trying to achieve something, like you said, that's impossible, like this precision and perfection in music. Yeah. Like that's such an interesting idea. That could be great, but the way it's executed,
I mean, this movie would have been better as a Charlie Parker story.
Right.
I mean, honestly,
they already made that movie.
I know, but I mean, it would have been better as that. I mean,
it's like it's essentially it reminds me of like this movie doesn't remind me of Love and Mercy, but it's like Love and Mercy in that it's about this guy who's trying to achieve that sound. He's got that in his head and he's trying to achieve it. And except this kid doesn't have a sound in his head. He's just got the idea in his head of I need to be the best in the world at drumming.
Yeah,
which is it's an interesting idea. I just don't think it's executed very well. That's all. It's not executed as well as it could be. It's executed well. It's not as good as it could be.
I think the film for me serves more of a purpose of raising questions, like I said earlier, of like actually what's going on, but I don't know.
And I really hate the whole like the thriller elements of it. Like he caused this kid to commit suicide, and then he tricks Miles Teller into coming in the performance. I know it was you. Like that just doesn't work at all for me. I'm just like, this doesn't match the rest of this movie at all. Like, why is it becoming this like crime drama almost at this point? Like I don't know. It was really, maybe that's a little strong, but I just didn't. I don't know. That really bothered me. So that's why it can't ever get above 4 for me. But anyways, Rustin, would you like to continue with what we watched?
All right. The after The Fountain, which I watched with John, the next thing I watched was Coming to America. It's been a long time since I've seen it. It's a rewatch.
Do you know who directed that? I'll look it up.
Yeah, I do not. But
I've seen that in so long.
Starring Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall and
James Earl Jones.
And
Samuel L. Jackson in his first role.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he played it perfectly. Get on the floor, motherfucker! But
directed by John Landis, who also has directed several things, including The Blues Brothers and American Werewolf in London.
Let me ask you: Did he direct Trading Places by any chance?
Did he direct Trading Places? I believe he did. Let me look it up for sure, though.
I'll bring it up in a second. I'll bring it up now because in the middle of the film, the film's basically about. I'll just say what it's about.
Yes, he did. 1983.
Okay, that works perfectly. Then that makes sense. The film was basically about Eddie Murphy, who was a African prince who is going to be married to some princess who was bred to be his wife, and he desires to have freedom. He wants to marry, kind of like a reverse of Aladdin, where Princess Jasmine wants to marry someone she doesn't want to just marry some dude that she doesn't know, and so he decides to persuade his dad to send him to America to look for a bride, or his dad thinks to sow his royal oats, or just
bang a bunch of chicks so he can get it out of his
get out of his system and come back and marry this woman. But he gets into some adventures with his I guess his cousin Arsenio Hall or one of the royal family, and they get jobs at a place called McDowell's, which is a ripoff of McDonald's. This is a lot of humor. It's a very funny movie, and it gets to a point where he's courting with the daughter of Mr. McDowell, and it's supposed to be the woman he wants to, he's falling in love with. They're walking down the street, and there's a point where they pass two homeless guys, and he's got money that he had in his pocket, and it's like maybe $10,000 or something, because he's got all this money that he brought with him, but he's just giving it away because he's trying to live as a person, just regular person. Mm-hmm. And he hands him the money, and the guy lifts up the hood that he has. The homeless guy counts the money, and it's one of the two brothers, the old brothers from Trading Places. I'm seeing if I can't remember their names, but like he goes. One of them wakes up the other guy, and he goes, "Mortimer, look, we're back in business." and it's the same guys, and they start playing like the theme for like a split second of the from
That's
Trading Places.
Awesome. I had no idea.
It was
I don't think
funny.
I've ever seen Coming to America all the way through. So
Very funny cameo. I mean, the movie was just it's funny, really solid, hilarious.
What's the score on that?
4.5. 4 out of 5.
Cool.
Pretty funny.
all right. Well, after we watched The Fountain at my house, Rustin left to go get dinner and go home and I don't know, masturbate, whatever you do at your house. And I popped in a little number from 2005 that I have not seen in years.
Let me guess. I can't guess.
Dredd?
No, I watched Dredd after this. I watched The King.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is a film by James Marsh, a British director. I believe he's British. Whose claim to fame is that he directed the documentary Man on Wire. But this is a narrative picture that he made before that, starring Gael Garcia Bernal and William Hurt.
Fuck yeah.
In what I think is my second favorite William Hurt performance after Altered States. This is a great performance as a just crazed Baptist preacher who loses his son and has to take in this other son that he had with a prostitute years earlier.
Oh, wow.
Played by Gael Garcia. And it's all about Christian forgiveness and the problems with that kind of attitude. And it's really, really, really interesting and a really good movie. Didn't blow me away like it did the first couple of times I saw it, but then the first couple of times I saw it, I was 20, 21. And I hadn't seen a whole lot at that point. But still very, very good. Gave it a 4 out of 5.
Do another one.
Do another one?
Because I only have one more.
Jesus.
I got several more.
At the beginning, before we started recording, Jonathan was regaling me with how many films he had watched. Oh, I watched so many. We got so much to talk about. Now you're almost done.
Well, we talked about Last Temptation last week.
All right. So after that, I watched Dredd. And then Aladdin recently was re-released on Blu-ray. And I was a big fan when I was a kid, and my fiance loves it. So we went and bought it. And we watched Aladdin. And the best scene of Aladdin is this scene.
On his way to the palace, I suppose. Another suitor for the princess.
That's my favorite part. I don't know why. It's just the way that guy says, "Another suitor for the princess." it's so good. But it's a pretty funny movie.
All right.
And it's it's not like, I'm not a big children's cartoon guy. I think Beauty and the Beast is really, really good.
Yes.
Beauty and the Beast, I think, was like a 4 out of 5 for me. This movie's, I gave it a 4, but it's not nearly as good as, I don't know. It was just kind of like, I gave it a 4 based solely on Robin Williams' performance as the genie, which I think is still great.
Yeah.
But, and it's a good, and it works, and it's a great, it's fun to watch and everything, but like, until I have kids, I don't think I'm going to rewatch this thing, so.
Cool. The other film that I watched on Netflix, I watched the Pervert's Guide to Ideology.
Oh, good.
Which has Zizek.
Yeah.
Slavoj Zizek, who's a Slovenian philosopher. But it basically just like goes through his concept of ideology and whatnot, so forth.
Ideology, as he pronounced.
Yeah. But what's great, though, is or how he perceives ideology, rather. But what's great about it is like he compares it to, like he sees ideology in film. Mm-hmm. Basically, he goes through all these different films in the movie itself, and like the Sound of Music and like
They Live,
Full Metal Jacket, They Live,
Vertigo.
But what's great is not even like having anything to do with the film, but it made me really want to watch They Live, like really bad.
They Live looks really cool. I haven't seen it either.
I really want to see this movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It's really good.
I enjoyed it too.
If you're interested in philosophy at all, definitely check it out.
And there's a pseudo sequel to it called whatever, Guide to what's it called again?
What, the first one?
Yeah.
Pervert's Guide to Ideology?
Yeah.
There's Pervert's Guide to Cinema.
But it's a guide to cinema, yeah.
That's the first one.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's good though. Really gets you into like his mindset and whatnot, and really
So that's all you got?
compares it to film, whatnot, so forth. But
Is that your last film?
yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, after that I watched Dredd, and then I watched Beasts of No Nation. But yeah, that's all I watched this week.
Pathetic.
What?
I'm just kidding with you.
That's almost
I
a
just got
movie every
so much
day.
more to
That's
say.
almost a movie every day.
All right, go ahead, Rustin.
All right. My next film was something that honestly I bring it back to the beginning of everything that I remember from the three of us, like going over to John's house to watch blood scenes of different action scenes and sequences in movies. The Wild Bunch.
The best. I remember it to this day, still seeing it for the first time on well, that was with you though, right?
Yeah.
On television, just seeing this insanely
I remember
violent
being
film and
being
just
like,
being like, what is this?
We must own this.
Yeah.
And this was correct. The first film to introduce blood squibs, explosive.
No.
Or was it?
No.
I remember you saying.
No, the first film that introduced blood squibs is a Polish film from the 1950s, and the name escapes me right now, but it only uses one squib and it explodes on a guy's arm. I watched it solely for that reason. But but no, this is definitely the first film to use them as much as they use them. I mean, this uses a shitload of blood squibs.
Oh man, it just it starts off with them, and then it has a good balance of it, like kind of in between, a few here and there, and then the end is just it is so far the best I've ever seen, and the only one I can really think of, other than maybe like A Fistful of Dollars, or one, like basically all the spaghetti westerns with Clint Eastwood, which have nothing to this. I mean, it was the ultimate and quintessential Mexican standoff, and it just
Literally Mexican standoff.
It's like
there's
with like
Mexicans.
200. They even mentioned it's like 200 of these Mexican federales, but they're working for this like rogue general. And
I remember being slightly bored with the movie until the end.
No,
is that still?
The intro is very action packed as
old.
well.
It's
though.
it's
really long.
That's
right?
really my only issue in the
Old. I don't
movie
know why I said
is
old.
Freudian slip.
it gets kind of like long-winded. Like there's parts in it where just it's slow, and I mean honestly, some of the acting in it isn't the best, and these are all seasoned. Pretty much they've been in a lot of stuff, but it's just like
Ernest Borgnine.
It's just there's a lot of
William Holden.
There's a lot of, I guess you could say, acting like it's a different mindset of acting in the 50s to acting now.
It's that old style of acting
Yeah.
before the Russians, told us how to really act and taught Brando, and Brando taught the rest of us, Yeah, I agree. It's that kind of old world stage acting almost, but I don't think it's that bad. But
it's not bad, but
definitely-
it's not it's not like the best.
Well, you don't watch a movie like The Wild Bunch for the acting,
No.
So
It's like 2.5 hours long, huh?
Hey, well, it's
2
it was,
hours?
I want to say it was 2:20, I think.
I've been meaning to rewatch
220.
it. It's the first film I bought on Blu-ray.
Oh wow!
It was,
So I've been meaning to rewatch it ever since I bought it on Blu-ray 4 years ago. I just haven't gotten around to it.
but the story was great. One of my favorite things in it was the time period. It's like 1912 or 13. It's
Yeah.
during the era of Pancho Villa, and it was still that time where it's Western, but you were starting to see modern weaponry, like escaping from Europe, and I mean they even had German army officers there, like counseling the Mexican generals and stuff. It's just like
That's cool.
You should get this weapon or use this. And, they try to get like a Maxim machine gun, which they got, which at that time was like the most devastating battlefield implement. It just I think it just came out within like that 10-year gap. I forget like between 1905 and 1915. I think I forget what year exactly, but it was just good. I mean, I gave it a 4.5, and the main reason is just like I said, like some of the acting is just not the best, but it's not bad either, and it's long. That's the only issue I have is like really it's just like the movie's a little too long at some points. If it was maybe like 20-30 minutes shorter, then it would have been like
movies are
really good.
Movies in general are too long.
Yeah. But even the ending was great, even though it's a kind of a sort of bittersweet.
I agree.
You could say, because the main characters all get massacred in the massacre, but along with just about the entire Mexican force that's there. They still, there's like one person left from the original group who's actually hunting them down because he's ordered to, or he goes to prison, and he escapes, and he ends up joining the last person in the group, this old man, and supposedly the score that they made is still out there, so they could still go get it potentially. They leave it open to where that could go anywhere, and I like that, you know.
After watching Dredd and being so just blown away and excited by it, I watched the next day after. No, I'm sorry. It was later that night after I watched Aladdin, and I had watched Dredd earlier in the day. I decided to give Doomsday a try. And Doomsday is a 2008 movie, which, from the trailers that I saw, I remembered being a post-apocalyptic kind of Road Warrior-esque action picture that didn't get a whole lot of traction in the theaters, and the critics hated it, of course. But I, listening to some other people, some other critics, certain ones on other podcasts, who said that it was good and worth a look. So I went ahead and got it from the library about 6 months ago, and I decided to pop it in. And the first 10 minutes or so had some incredible action, some Dredd levels of violence. A man's head is blown in half by a shotgun, and it looks amazing. And then this woman shoots another guy with like a silencer, and it's just really great. Blood everywhere. It just looks amazing. But as I'm watching, I'm noticing this doesn't look like it's taking place in a post-apocalyptic future. It looks like they're on a normal, like they were on a ship at a dock in Ireland or somewhere. And I was like, this just doesn't seem like it's. I don't understand. Like, the images I remember are like leather-clad people with like mohawks, like throwing things and burning shit, and like a wasteland, you know. And so I'm watching it, and then I realized that, okay, that's all coming later on whenever the disease wipes out everybody, and then like this is the before, and then there's going to be an after. And so I went ahead and powered through the whole thing, and when I say powered through, I mean it was difficult to watch. This is a terrible movie. And it's when they get to the post-apocalyptic part, that's probably the worst part of the movie. I really kind of wish they would have just stayed in the real world. It was much more interesting.
Wow.
The villain in this is whoever this actor is. He's trying way too hard to be scary and domineering. It's embarrassing. And the violence is fun. It really is. I enjoy it, but it's not enough. And there's like this weird musical number in the middle of it where they like the main villain's like on a stage and he's like dancing around, and there's like women in thongs dancing with him, and then they take this guy who they captured and they burn him alive and cook him, and everybody eats him. And it's just like kind of silly. I don't know. Like, what would this really happen? I don't, why? They're gonna eat this guy. His clothes were still on when they burned him. Like, how do you know you're not eating part of his clothes? It's just like weird. I don't know. It just seemed like it was trying to be shocking, and it really wasn't. It was just lame.
Yeah.
So that movie's a piece of shit. Let's move on.
What'd you give it?
I gave it a 2.
2?
I actually gave it a 2.25 because of the violence that I really enjoyed, especially that at the beginning, that opening action sequence.
Yeah.
Was really fun to watch, and I really thought I was in for quite a ride. And I was, but it wasn't a good ride. It was brutal.
Okay, well, my next film was the 1979, and you'll have to get the director on The Warriors.
Walter Hill.
Okay, it's considered a cult classic, and I wouldn't say it's super great, but it was very entertaining. It was like the main problem with this movie, and I know there's a lot of people that just because of cult classics, there's typically lots of people that just love the movie. It's just when they hired the actors, I guess they just picked up just random people. There's a lot of people in it that I've seen before in later just 80s movies and stuff like that, but in particular the guy that plays Swan, which I don't know the name of any of the people, and the person that plays Ajax.
I've never seen it.
But and these people I've seen. The guy that plays Ajax, he played Raiden in Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Yeah, that guy. He's
Yeah.
the
Wow.
he's Dexter's dad on Dexter.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you seen The Warriors?
I have not seen Warriors. No.
But it's.
That guy's name's escaping me. It really makes me mad. I usually know that guy's name.
But I mean, but other than the acting, which is just, it's a lot of overacting. Really, like sometimes really like, it's like they're trying to for humor purposes be overly or try to make it look more stage presented. Because the way, what's cool about the idea of the movie is it's New York, and there's like hundreds of gangs. And all the gangs are really extravagant. Like they have, like some look like kind of pimps. They have purple shirts. There's a gang called the Fear.
They all have themes.
Themes, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's. I like that idea. It's really cool. Like in the Warriors themselves, they have like they all wear these vests that have the Warriors, and like they have designations like the leader is called War Chief or Warlord. And it's the ideas behind it are really cool. It's not, I would say, completely executed well because of just certain aspects, but like
Well, it's a low budget.
It's exactly,
Yeah.
but like the story that takes place is really cool. The obstacles they have to face is I liked, and there's some scenes where they have they get like the coolest I think part for me in the movie was at a point where they're getting chased by this one gang that has like one guy's roller skates. And the rest of them don't, but they have like weapons and stuff, and they're chasing what's left of the Warriors. There's like 6 or 7 of them left at this point, including this girl that they picked up. And they go hide in this bathroom, and they lure that opposing gang that's chasing them in there, and they have this big fight scene. And it's just a giant. It's just all over the place, like something like that. Like none of these guys are expert fighters, but they're just just all over. Everyone's getting beat up.
It's an orgy of violence.
Yeah, but the Warriors themselves are actually they're prevailing because they're actually pretty, at least pretty decent, I guess, as far as like fighting is concerned. And they even like they state that later. Like some guys like, "You Warriors are good," and he's like, "We're the best," whatever. But all in all, it's entertaining. I mean, it's not great, but it's entertaining. And I gave it. I don't know. I was feeling generous on this one, but I gave it couldn't go 3.5, but I just under it. I gave it the same rating as I gave Black Mass, 3.4. It was just it was good, but like just under the pretty good rating, basically.
All right, well, I've been going to trivia with my brother and my fiance.
Oh,
and
shit.
I heard that there was Back to the Future trivia coming up. So to prepare for that, I decided to rewatch the trilogy. And
did you go to that?
Yeah, I'll talk about it in a second.
All right.
I watched Back to the Future 1 and 2 back to back last Saturday, and the first one was fine, 4 out of 5, very enjoyable. By the time I got about midway through the second one, I was really tiring out. I did not want to look at this anymore. But I finished it, gave it a 3.75, 0.25 down for lack of Crispin Glover, which I think is the best part of the first film. He's funny and really fun to watch. And I did not watch the third film because I just didn't want to. I just don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to see any more Back to the Future. And honestly, I was thinking about buying these on Blu-ray, which are like $40, and I was like, I can do $40. I can buy. I need to own these. They're classics. I'm really glad I didn't buy these movies. I never want to see them again.
I am in that same boat, but I did that about maybe 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was just like, never. I'm done. Like I don't need to see these again.
I'm good, but I am glad I watched the first two. I actually regret not watching the third one after we went to trivia because it came in second place out of 12 teams. And I think I definitely could have dominated had I seen the third film. There were certain aspects of the third film that I didn't know or remember, and I lost because of it. And so yeah, I watched Back to the Future 1 and 2. The end. Go ahead, Rustin.
All right.
Okay, so Rustin, let's move on to you. Next film.
The Last Temptation of Christ.
Okay, let's do this.
Okay.
And I just, first of all, I really want to discuss the thing that we weren't able to discuss last week because you hadn't seen it. The very end, and I'm not talking about Satan, I'm talking about the very last shot, the film running out of the canister at the end. The most incredible ending to a film I've ever seen. So amazing. This film also jumped up several spots in my top 50.
I agree.
And now is in the top 10 of my all-time. And yeah, this is just an incredible film. And I'd love to hear Rustin's thoughts on it, and then we can all kind of discuss.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with during the film with my knowledge of these times and everything and the way it portrayed them, and I took into account at the beginning that this is based not on the gospel but on another interpretation of it. It's almost like the way I look, like, because there's a lot of scenes in the movie where I was like, this is not right. You know, this doesn't feel, you know, this isn't like what he would have done, what Jesus would have done.
Sure. But
at the same time, I feel like and I may not have caught everything during the film, but like in my first watch, but like it felt to me like this is almost like showing the path of Jesus. If he literally was like, I don't really know what, you know, I know he, you know, like he was the Son of God, like he supposedly, I guess, already knew a lot of these things, but what if, like, see, I was putting myself in that position, like if I was in that position, what if like I didn't know this stuff? Because it's almost like if you put literally just a human person in that path, and you know how he would react to these things, and it's like it felt that would be a human reaction. Like,
it's a
I'm
very
going to pick up the axe. The axe means to kill, but like at the same time, picking up that axe in that scene, if God tells me to pick up the axe, I will. Maybe it was a double meaning, picking up the axe to chop down that tree, which was like the tree of the forbidden fruit. That, at least that's what my interpretation was. It seemed to symbolize not necessarily to kill, but to cut the forbidden fruit and spread originally what he wanted to. But like it, you know, it was almost like he was confused a lot just during it, and that in part me trying to think, you know, critically about it was confusing me, and I think maybe that was just the point, like having an actual just a human person with their limitations in that would just how hard and difficult
I
it
mean
would be,
the movie is a humanistic view of Jesus Christ. I mean, that's kind of obvious. I mean, it's not meant to be confusing,
including the Last Temptation, which I did not see. Like I knew it was going to be probably something, but I did not see that at all. And I was like, the entire time I was watching, like I can see why so many people are like just think this is of the devil, and like this.
And that's the section.
It's just showing, you know. Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
And that's the section that really after the first time I actually watched it all the way through, like I got all the way through it. I loved it so much that I was really trying to reconcile the idea that Christ could have come down off the cross and done all that. And I was trying to think of that in terms of like, does this really conflict with my theology that I believe? And I came to the conclusion that it did. But at first I was thinking to myself, well, he came off the cross, but at the end he still dies for everybody's sins. Like he goes back onto the cross, you know? And it's just kind of like this big test. But then you have to think about the fact that Christ is supposed to be executed as the, you know, blemishless lamb, you know, the pure sacrifice, and he's not pure anymore if he yields to the temptation of the devil, which he does. So like that was problematic for me from a spiritual standpoint. But now looking at it, I can see it as like how you said, you watched it and you said, well, this doesn't make sense because Jesus wouldn't do this. But then I think about it as like, this isn't Jesus Christ from the Bible. This is Jesus Christ, the character in the movie Last Temptation of Christ. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
He's not supposed to be God. He's not supposed to be the God of that you go to church and worship. Like, that's not who Willem Dafoe's playing. He's playing Jesus Christ, the character in this movie. You know, just like Jim Caviezel isn't Jesus Christ, he's an actor playing a character. You know, and in that movie, that's trying to get at something maybe more close to resembling the Christ of your church, but you know, it's still just it's a movie. You know, like this isn't supposed to be like some kind of
fact,
severely accurate retelling. Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's a documentary or anything. I mean, Christ may not have even existed for all we know. It's like that's the whole point, is that when you get into those kinds of, you know, things where like, I won't watch this because, you know, look at what they're making Jesus do. Well, that's just, don't think he's not Jesus, though. That's not your God doing that. That's like, obviously, okay, if Jesus wouldn't do that, then clearly this is not Jesus, right?
But
like,
you can understand why people are upset about it, though. It's to them it's blasphemy. It's a mockery of Christ.
But I can understand why they're upset, but it also seems very narrow-minded to be
upset. Oh, I agree.
I
completely agree. It's narrow-minded, and I think that watching something like Passion of the Christ is almost masturbatory, where it's just like, oh, he died for our sins and the blood and the gore. Oh, I love it. You know, like this. It's
manipulative too.
This is making you think. Like, this film really makes you think. And the part that really made me think was the part with
Harry Dean Stanton.
Harry Dean Stanton,
who plays Paul.
Yeah, when he basically says that, like, you're nothing. Like, I'll carry the word of Christ. You know, or the myth of Christ. You know. Whether you died on the cross or not, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to perpetuate this Christianity. You know what I mean? And I was like, that to me was like really thought-provoking.
Yeah, it becomes more important than the man at that point. It doesn't matter like who Jesus is. It matters what Christianity is.
And that's where
the religion is what's important, not the figure at the head of the religion.
That's where the humanist kind of viewpoint comes into. It's really showing him as a man and not a myth. And you have to. Even if you are a Christian, you know, you have to bring it back to, like, he was, you know, if you believe in that, he was still a person who walked the earth and
still a human, born of a human. I mean, you know, regardless of whether you think that God impregnated Mary or Joseph did, it's like he's still a person.
Yeah,
and he's still dealing with things as if he is a person.
And I don't think you can take the Bible as literal, like he's just like this flawless person. I don't see how that would, like, how people would relate to that. I don't know. Like, this character of Willem Dafoe's character is almost more relatable because he's, you know, he is flawed, and, you know, and I really love the part of when he's building the crosses and his excuse for building the crosses. You know, he wants God to hate him. You know what I mean? Like, that's just great. Like,
so he'll leave him alone.
Yeah,
because it hurts.
And it's like. It's more powerful. That's what I'm trying to get at.
That leads me to my next question for Rustin, which is, what do you think about the performances? Harvey Keitel in particular, who's amazing.
No, like, I remember y'all were talking about it, like how they portrayed it as in modern times, like this, like instead of just trying to act with accents or, you know, like do word for word type things, they were just, you know, the all the acting, like speaking of words, it was all just in whatever fluent, you know. Form of speech that comes naturally to them, just like
modern English kind of translation of the Bible, that kind of thing, you know.
Like, it is accomplished.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the same exact meaning, but it works. Just because, you know.
My favorite part though is when Harvey Keitel just he just turns over. He's like, Satan. And like,
that's so good.
So
and it's so revealing too. Like, I had no idea the first time I watched it. No idea that this little girl was supposed to be Satan.
And that's insane. They always refer to Judas as a, you know, as the name Judas is now
traitor.
is
synonymous
with traitor. Mm-hmm. But in this film, they show, like, he, you know, and I believe too that Judas, like. My personal belief is that he loved God as well, and like I mean, I don't know all the details because these are details that I don't really see, or, you know, that in the Bible they explain the story of what happened, but, like, you know, he played his part, and it's basically even Willem Dafoe as Jesus. He told him, you need to play.
He insists that he betrayed him.
You play your part because only you are strong enough to do that. I can't. That's how, you know.
Yeah.
And not that I'm trying to say, like, Judas is like the hero. And I'm just saying,
Judas is the hero. Judas is the reason Jesus died. I mean,
Judas is the hero of the film.
No, I mean
Yeah.
it's like no. That's what I'm talking about, not the actual Bible.
but
And like at the end of the movie, when he says Satan, like Judas is still. I mean, he's still like he's almost like the all-knowing. Like he knew the entire time, and it's like isn't it obvious? Satan. Like it's like how have you been like manipulated? I thought that was great.
You've been deceived.
Yeah.
And how about the blood work in this film? I'm sure it's not something that's been talked about very much, but the blood work in this picture isn't. The scene when he's trying to decide whether or not he should lead the revolution or be crucified, and then he looks down and his hands are bleeding.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And they pretty much actually crucified in Willem Dafoe. So it looked so good. And I like how it's a small cross and it just looks like shit. And he's like not even like, straight up. He's like
and there's
sideways and like, looks contorted.
I want to bring this up. There's one thing, and it's
good.
It's not even something I can nitpick, and I won't even say it's something to nitpick. But like, it's just something I probably would have preferred to like. How they show like all the Romans, like they're I guess the Romans basically, but they all look like they're wearing garb that I would think like unless they were actually supposed to be like Jewish soldiers that working under Rome or something. Just like the normal depiction of Roman soldiers is with red and like a cape or something like that, and just certain things. Well, I mean, and that's not going to be the case, especially because Israel was a border country, like something that they are occupying. So they're not going to have like all these crack troops with like full gear and like bronze and all that kind of stuff on. But I would have liked to have seen a few, like maybe a centurion, and I think they even mentioned a centurion at some point, but they were never wearing, like centurions would have worn like full chest armor, something like that. Like not all the soldiers would be dressed extravagantly, but like
I think that's unnecessary though, like especially with colors. I think that would have like totally clashed with the film.
It doesn't. It's not necessary, but like I don't know, just not even colors, but just like I don't know. And it's not even. Well, it's not really a big issue. It's just something that I guess I'm used to seeing in other movies.
It's akin to like when I get mad at The Sopranos because they have like flash paper instead of blanks. It's not something that's a deal breaker. I don't like it, but I understand why they had to do it. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So. But David Bowie, I mean,
Bowie as Pontius Pilate. I was talking to Nicole about this yesterday. Just Bowie. Comes out of nowhere and just steals the film for me. I mean, just an incredible scene, incredible acting. Really great. His just everything he says is just great. I love it. I love this movie so much. I really do.
It's really great.
Do you have anything else to add about it, or?
I think we all gave it 5.
We all gave it 5.
5 out of 5, yes. But the only thing I have to add is like, I was wondering how like that Last Temptation was where it was going, but then also to me, it would make sense like, that Last Temptation. Even if he didn't do it, he could have. If let's thinking about it too. If you put it in the place where he is Son of God, he is God. He could have seen this temptation. And if he would have chosen, he could have. This could have been him watching it unfold. Mm-hmm. What would happen if he would have done it? Mm-hmm. But then, no, I mistake. It's. Yeah. I was thinking about it in those terms as I was watching it.
Vision kind of thing.
Yeah. But then at the end, where it was actually he did it, but then he just goes back. He just repents and goes back.
Put me back.
Like it's not something that I necessarily it clashed with what I believe, but at the same time, I thought it was great the way they did it. I mean, and it's not really a real issue. It's just not what I believe, but
in the end, good. The end with the film stock, that was cool.
Yeah, the film stock is incredible. I really love that. I read that it was a total accident, but it's fucking amazing. Like it blew my mind. Like I didn't remember it at all. And watching it this last time, I was just like that. That's the way that. Yes, of course, that's the way this ends.
That's your favorite ending ever.
It's up there.
My favorite ending is Andrei Rublev. I love that ending.
I don't even remember how Andrei Rublev.
It's like the
don't tell me.
Okay.
I have it sitting on top of my DVDs. I'm rewatching it.
I'm gonna rewatch it too.
Okay.
This week.
Cool.
And then I'll let Rustin borrow it. We can talk about that next week.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
So yeah, for after Back to the Future, Just had a hankering to.
Allison sent me a Snapchat.
Okay, so after that, I was thinking about rewatching Sicario, going to the theater and rewatching it, but I didn't get around to it. So instead, I decided to rewatch Prisoners, Denis Villeneuve's earlier picture, starring Hugh Jackman and another powerful performance. Although, I mean, obviously nowhere near the Fountain levels of good, but Prisoners is good. I liked it when I first saw it. I don't love it. It's got a lot of problems. I hate the fact that the mystery is solved at the end of it. I would have preferred the children to stay missing.
Whoa. Said whoa. Haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen Prisoners?
No.
Are you serious?
Now I don't have to. Thanks.
I thought you'd seen Prisoners. I'm sorry.
Did they find the kids alive?
I'm not going to say anything else about it.
I don't really want to see it.
Anyways,
hold on. Does it carry like his theme, like like his the way his films look? Denis Villeneuve.
Does it carry Denis Villeneuve's theme?
Like theme, like the way his films look. Does it look the same? Like
yeah, Roger Deakins shot it.
Oh, did he?
It's the exact same.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's well acted. It's interesting. It's got a lot of problems, though. Like I said, it's conventional thriller at times, and that's the kind of thing I don't like about it. And it does solve the mystery at the end, and I don't like that it solves the mystery at all. But anyway, gave it 4 out of 5. Solid. Then after that,
cool.
I was hankering to see some more child abduction rape action, so I watched The Pledge.
Okay.
Actually, I rewatched The Pledge, which is a 2001 Sean Penn film starring Jack Nicholson.
It's good.
It's good. It's not great. It's not what it appears to be. Like, if you watch a trailer for it, it looks like it's some kind of thriller where he's a cop and he's after a serial killer, and that's not what it is at all. He's a retired cop, and he does think that there's a serial killer, but he's not really investigating it too hard, and he's kind of just paranoid that he kind of like makes friends with this woman, and he takes her and her daughter in, and they become like a family. And he gets paranoid that something's going to happen to the daughter because she's about 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever. And so it's more about this guy whose paranoia leads to him just ruining his life. And it's more of a character study than a thriller of any kind. And for those reasons, not that like if it was a thriller it would be better. I mean, it's a good movie and it's an interesting character study. And Jack Nicholson gives a really good performance. Very controlled, very subtle. But 3.75 out of 5. Watchable, good. I'll watch it again. After that, I rewatched Whiplash, which we already talked about. 4 out of 5, same rating. Can't go above it.
Yep.
Then I rewatched The Crossing Guard. Now, this is Sean Penn's movie that he made before The Pledge. Also starring Jack Nicholson and Angelica Houston and David Morse. And, obviously, Robin Wright, who he was dating at the time. Sean Penn was dating. Now, this is Sean Penn's second movie that he directed. I haven't seen the first one, but I saw Crossing Guard a lot when I was younger, and I liked it a lot when I was younger. But I mean, I was like, when I say younger, I mean I think the first time I saw it I was 18, and I liked it. And then I saw it again when I was 20 or 21. I loved it. I saw it again maybe a year later, 22, 23, loved it. Haven't seen it since. So it's been almost 7 years ago. So I say, I got to rewatch this thing. Because I was going to put it in my top 50, but I didn't have time to rewatch it. And I was like, I'm going to rewatch this thing, and it's going to be a piece of shit. It's going to plummet. This is not going to be good.
Top 50?
This is definitely, if not top 50, this is top 100 for sure. This is a 4.5 out of 5. This is a very, very solid picture.
Cool.
Nicholson's best performance post The Shining, I would say. Incredible stuff. Just so angry and so full of rage, and so also at the same time so apathetic and just like full of malaise and depression, and just a great movie about a man who lost his daughter to a drunk driver and is planning to kill the drunk driver now that he's out of prison. It's a great movie. Great movie. 4.5. The only it drops from a 5. I was going to give it a 5. I really was because I really love it, but it drops 0.25 for overly sentimental, terrible synthy score from like this kind of early 90s horrible score.
Who did it?
Jack Nitzsche. Never heard of him, but anyway, sometimes the score is really good. Actually, there are parts of it where it really works, but sometimes it gets really sappy and overly sentimental. And then also 0.25 down for post-production slow-mo, which is never a good idea. And there's some beautiful regular slow-mo in this movie, but there's also these like scenes where it's all choppy and nasty looking. I don't know why they do that.
Makes no sense.
Anyway,
I overshot it.
Go ahead, Rustin. Sorry to go too far there. I did 2 or 3 at a time, I think.
No, you're good.
All right.
Well, the next film I watched, kinda horror, kinda suspense, but I'm not really sure where to actually rank it, but I enjoyed it, and honestly, in a disturbing way, laughed my butt off during a lot of scenes in the film. But American Psycho, it gets intense at points, and I'm not really horror because I wasn't scared at all. And it's not like it's more like
Comedy.
Comedy.
It's a it is a comedy.
Yeah,
it's a violent comedy.
It's a dark comedy. I think it plays as a slasher at times, but
who directed it?
Mary Herron.
I mean,
the TV director.
It would be kind of scary if you were being chased by this, but the sight of Christian Bale ass naked with running shoes on, drenched in blood, running down a hallway of an apartment building with a chainsaw, with this like intense, serious look in his face. It was hilarious. It wasn't really like scary or anything, but for the woman, I'm sure it was. But at least with the part, whenever he is actually just this was good just for him, like for the character, where he was just in this depth of madness. She's running down the stairwell at the bottom, and he has the chainsaw, and he doesn't feel like chasing after her, so he just aims it, follows her movement with it, and he's just sitting there with his mouth open like, then drops it, and then it impacts with her, and he's like, yeah. It's like
6 out of 5.
6 out of 5. No, it was. It's funny.
Is that your first time seeing this movie?
It is actually the second time, I believe.
Okay.
The only
This is the first time you've seen this movie?
It's been a long time though since I've seen it, and
I've seen it like 10 times. I don't know.
okay.
As have I.
Yeah.
But I got kind of lost at certain points, like towards the end, like evidently he imagined. Spoiler, he like imagined all these killings, and he was actually writing them down in this book, and it was just his imagination running wild. But then I wasn't quite sure in the film what actually happened and what did, and I don't even know if he was sure. Because at the very end, he even makes it this confession he had, everything was pointless. And that's it. So I'm not really sure exactly the meaning behind the film, what they were going for. If you have more thoughts on this, John or Jonathan, I went with a solid 4.5 because I couldn't find really anything wrong. I enjoyed pretty much all like the scenes, like the blood, everything like looked really good, and a lot of the acting too was like from everybody. Like nothing was just bad. I mean, you could sometimes, Christian Bale's character, like some of those scenes where he's just monologuing on and on during like say him having sex with women or about to kill somebody about like music, which is like his obsession. He loves
Phil Collins.
Yes, very into Phil Collins. But he seemed like you could almost take it almost as a little overacting, but he was playing this character a certain way. Like he was trying to fit in and adapt in this, upper class society, which they don't really go into, if he came from this in his past. I don't remember him recalling his past, or it just jumps into his life. This is his routine. This is what I do. And I have a morbid obsession with committing homicides at night. So it's just like
I don't know about the message of the film or anything. I mean, it's based on a Bret Easton Ellis novel, so I don't know exactly what he's trying to get. I'm sure some kind of like commentary about violence in America or something. But as far as what actually happens in the movie, I think you got it. Like, he didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. He's crazy and he's delusional and he's paranoid schizophrenic or whatever, and he thinks that he killed all these people, but he didn't really do anything. Paul Allen's still alive at the end of the movie. he goes to that apartment looking for the bodies and everything. There's nothing there.
And some people know him as Patrick Bateman, and others as Marcus Davis and stuff. It's just
he has
multiple.
He has aliases
Yeah.
because he's going around, I guess, essentially pretending that he's committing these crimes, thinking that he actually is, and I think that's why some people might call him by a different name or something like that, and also there's that one scene where the guy walks up to him and Paul Allen starts talking to him as if he's someone else.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, Paul's mistaken me for this other guy," and it makes sense because we have the same haircut and same glasses
suit,
or whatever. Yeah. And and so I think that's all. I think it shows also the things that I didn't get when I first watched it when I was younger. Is like I didn't like the fact that it was all fake at the end. When I was
agree.
younger, I thought it was a cop out, and I was like, "This is kind of lame." But now I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially when you watch the absurdity of the violence in the scenes when he's doing, like when he has a shootout with the cops at the end, and the car explodes. I mean, and he even looks at his gun and is like, "Did that really just happen?" Like, and I think that's supposed to alert the audience that, well, this is clearly not happening.
Yeah,
like, this is in his head, and he's like obviously the ATM didn't ask him to feed the cat either, and he didn't blow away some old lady who came around. It's just absurd. But I agree. I like the violence. I think it looks really good, and I like the movie a lot. I think it's one of those, but it's like one of those ones, like one of those 90s pictures where you've just seen it so much, and it's good. It's consistently good. It doesn't go down at all, and it's hard to even judge it at this point. Like Pulp Fiction, or something like that. Where it's just like,
I think this is from 2000, huh?
Is it?
Yeah,
well,
it's
whatever.
2000.
It's 2000.
That's essentially the 90s.
Still.
But yeah, it's but I gave it 4.5. It was solid. It's a
Good
lot
stuff.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Last night I talked Nicole into finally watching Blue is the Warmest Color, which is the Cannes Palme d'Or winner from a few years ago, French film about a girl discovering her sexuality, and it's about 3 hours long, which is what took the convincing, and it's foreign. Nicole's watched a lot of foreign films, but so we sat down and we watched this, and it was really good. I don't exactly know why it would have won the Palme d'Or. It must have been a slow year that year because it wasn't that good. But I mean, it's like Apocalypse Now won the Palme d'Or.
What year was this?
2012, 2013, something like that.
What else was there?
I don't have any idea. Who knows? I'm not gonna look all that up right now. But anyways, stars a girl named Leia Seydoux, who's actually gone on to do a lot of other stuff. Like she was in Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. She played the hit woman who like got thrown out of the window at that one point. Yeah, and she plays she plays a girl who falls in love with the main character, who's the girl who's trying to figure out if she's a lesbian or not, essentially. And it just kind of follows their relationship and the ups and downs and how their differences and where they come from and how they are culturally. Like one of them is very, very artistic and the other one is not artistic at all, but they love each other. But like that causes a rift between them because one of the girls is constantly hanging out with all her artsy friends, and like they're very condescending, and you don't know how to talk to them, it's like, so it's really good. It was very, very, very good watch. Didn't drag at all. Okay?
Really? For 3 hours?
It's 3 hours long and didn't drag at all. However, at the same time, no reason for this movie to be 3 hours long. Just because it didn't drag, all that means is that I was engaged in it the whole time and I enjoyed watching it. And a lot of that has to do with the performances. The camera work is all handheld, so it makes it like it's very like active all the time. You're not looking at a lot of stagnant shots of like static kind of stuff. But it just, there's no reason. I struggle with any movie that's over 2 hours long. I don't understand why a movie needs to be longer than 2 hours. I really don't. I mean, certain films I can justify it with. Something like what we were just talking about, Andrei Rublev, I could totally see, like, okay, Andrei Rublev needs to be that long. It's telling this epic story, but a story about two girls who fall in love and then break up and then, try to move on with their lives. Like, that's not an epic story. It's just not. And there are several sex scenes. It was actually caused a lot of controversy because it's NC-17, and there's a lot of very, very graphic sex scenes between the two women, and they go on so long. And I mean, it's hard for me to like question the artistic integrity of someone who's like doing this, but like, because I'm watching this and I'm saying, okay, well, I understand why this scene needs to be this long from like a logistical standpoint. It's the first time that she's been with a woman. Okay, so we're going to show everything, you know. Okay, that's fine. But then there's like, they have multiple scenes like that between them. And it's, you know, they're just passionately making love. And I'm just like, and it gets to the point where they're showing it in such minutia, such detail that it gets like awkward. It's like now they've been humping each other for so long now, for like minutes on end. And I'm just like, I've seen enough of this at this point. I mean, not from like from a male perspective, obviously, you know, it's arousing or whatever, but like that's not the point. Like from a movie perspective, like I've seen enough of this part now. We need to move on to another part so that we can just like break it up a little bit. You know what I mean?
It's like pornography then.
Yeah, it's exactly. Like, he rides a fine line. I mean, it's because they're having sex. These two actresses, it's not simulated. So it's like, what I'm watching is essentially pornography. It's not made for the reasons that pornography is made, but I mean, if you cut those scenes out and showed them to somebody, they would tell you that's porn. So it's like, I don't, you know, it's problematic. Yeah, it's not, you know, and it's like, it's fine if they want to do that. I don't have a problem with people having unsimulated sex on screen. You know, I think it's an interesting idea, honestly, because it gets to like some kind of authentic realism or something, but it's not done a lot. But I mean, you know, but I think it's an interesting idea, and Lars von Trier's toyed around with it and done it in some films, and I think it works. But in this movie, it's just way too long, and it takes it way too far. And this movie's 3 hours long. Like I said, it's just too long. It doesn't need to be this long. Like I said, I have no problem watching it, and I'll rewatch it at some point in the future, I'm sure. But I just don't understand why movies would need to be this long. It's not like it's Braveheart, you know. It's telling the story of a relationship. So, anyways, go ahead, Rustin.
All right. Let's see. In between American Psycho and before and after American Psycho, I had watched Dredd, which we talked about, and also Beasts of No Nation. The final film of the week I watched was it's a giant flaming pile of shit, directed by Alfonso Cuarón, which, you know, leads you to believe at the minute, yeah, we're making a run for the border in this movie, and I wonder if we can jam a lime wedge in his mouth. Made in 1988, starring some guy named Relson, which I never heard of it. And it's, you know, it's like,
some guy named Relson.
It's Deathstalker and the Warriors from Hell. And note that this version of the film that I watched was a Mystery Science Theater 3000, and which, by the way, is something I'm a huge fan of. And I give a pretty high score to this for that one fact, and it's hilarious. But basically, I mean, and I'm using basically quotes from the riffs they use in this show. Like, if anyone who's listening is not familiar with Mystery Science Theater 3000, it's a show where two guys who are controlling puppets that are supposed to be robots, and a third guy watch movies and they make fun of them, and they're all really bad, terrible movies. This movie, actually, without the riffing being done to it, it would get no score from me. I mean, it's honestly, it would be funny at times just watching it because it's that bad, you know, just without any riffing.
Just real quick then, clarify for me what we're talking about, because I read your review on this, okay, and let me get to it. Deathstalker and the Warriors from Hell, Heart, no rating, is that correct?
No rating, yeah.
No rating. Are you reviewing this film, or are you reviewing the film as it's riffed by...
As it's riffed. There actually is options for Mystery Science Theater 3000 riff films on Film...
on Letterboxd?
On Letterboxd. I don't know why I'm confusing those names. But this one was not an option, and I don't know how to. There's options where you have to go and create an account and do this stuff.
I understand.
Gotcha.
Okay, I was very confused by this because I was like, did you not like note the version I watched and liked was the one by the guys from Mystery Science Theater 2000, and I was like, well, why didn't you score it then? And then at the same time I was like, okay, but this is not that version, so why are you even logging this that you watched this? Because you didn't actually watch this. You watched an edited down version that they were making fun of, right? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And there are other films that were edited by them that are options to log. But for some reason, this wasn't one of them. I guess it was never.
Well, that begs the question: if it's not able to be logged, don't log it.
If it's not able to be logged, do not log it.
Okay.
If it's not on there, you're rarely going to find movies that aren't on there though. Because they get their films from an open source, the movie database, which is like it's got essentially everything. So it's like the only things that you're not going to be able to find are like local independent stuff. TV, a lot of TV's not on there. But other than that, you're most likely going to be able to find most things. TV movies are often on there. It's just TV shows; they don't do a lot of that. But
all right.
Well, basically, I'll just one more quote in here. I mean, the movie is it's like playing Doom when there's no monsters or opponents. That's what the movie is. So
yeah.
That's
usually.
I'll look at that. If it's not able to log, I just won't log it, and I'll just have to talk about it. Other than
definitely. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from talking about it on our show.
I saw that this was an option though to log it because the actual movie
for sure
was on there. This is the only way I saw to do it. But anyways. But yeah, I just I threw that in there at the last minute because I just wanted to watch something funny, and I was like, I'm gonna look this one up, and it's hilarious. So if you like watching people make fun of movies that are really bad, Mystery Science Theater 3000 has a lot of them. Check them out; it's funny.
All right, the last film I watched, and last film any of us watched, I'm assuming. Right, you're done, right?
I am.
Okay. Was Raging Bull. I watched it this morning. I have very little to say about it. It's 5 out of 5. It's great. It's it was my favorite Scorsese film until I rewatched Last Temptation. Mm-hmm. Last Temptation is better.
I haven't seen it in a while.
But Raging Bull is great, and everything you've ever heard about it is true. It's fantastic. De Niro's fantastic. Joe Pesci's fantastic. Captain Moriarty is fantastic. It's a good movie. The fight scenes are hilarious. So that's all I got. So that's going to be it for what we watched. But we need to move on now and discuss the real elephant in the room. J.J. Abrams' upcoming masterpiece, Star Wars, The Force Awakens. And there's a new trailer out last week for this film. Mm-hmm. And this trailer really got me fully aroused and very excited to see Star Wars, more so than I've been since 1997 when we went to the theater to see A New Hope special edition. So this is very exciting for me. I'm not a big Star Wars guy. I was when I was a kid. It's not something I like. Rustin, for instance, wants to rewatch the Star Wars films. I'm not super excited about doing that. I will do it because I think it's a good idea before we see Episode 7. But I'm not super jazzed to see them again.
I feel like all of them would get really low ratings. I don't know why, especially A New Hope. Thinking about it, I don't ever need to see that movie again. But I'll do it. It's kind of like a Back to the Future thing with me.
What did you guys think about this this newest trailer? We've seen a little bit already, but now this new trailer really opens it up wide. As Jake LaMotta would say in Raging Bull, it opens his hole up like this, you know.
Yeah.
So
it's,
how do you feel about it?
It's like they're trying to, they're showing a bit more, and it's an actual trailer, not a teaser. And
looks good.
I think that it's actually going to be, the trailer's going to be, like they do with a lot of trailers, misleading, because it shows at one point there's the Finn character, the new, I guess, person who's potentially going to be a Jedi who finds Luke's old blue lightsaber, and
the
he's
black guy.
Yes, and he's standing right in front of the Sith Lord character. At least
Kylo Ren.
It looks like him without the mask. It's just the back, and it shows the back of his head.
Driver.
I like that. I like the character.
Now
Kylo Ren.
He's
gonna finish
like
with
the
Darth
cult of
Sardinia.
Darth Vader or something.
Yes.
I mean,
it's
pretty cool.
And
I hope it's dark. I just hope it's dark.
Yeah. It looks like he's gonna fight him right there, but I have a feeling because they've been hinting at Luke, and they show that one scene with that hand on R2-D2 and Luke talking and earlier little teasers. I have a feeling that, I mean, it may go a different way, but just from the way it shows, they're gonna have some like epic fight at the end. This guy is gonna go up against Kylo Ren in like almost pretty much nearly get killed. This guy's about to kill him.
I hope they
basically
kill Luke Skywalker.
And Luke, I
be
think,
great.
is probably going to come in at the end of the movie and kind of like save the day, basically, or maybe even
I read a
eat a lightsaber.
I read an article somewhere online earlier saying that Mark Hamill told J.J. Abrams like 10 years ago that he wanted, or he told him recently that he wanted Luke Skywalker to die like 10 years ago or something like that. Like, he wants him to die.
I heard about
off.
that too. Yeah, Luke wants to kill. I mean, Mark Hamill wants to kill the character.
Yeah, he wants it to die.
Yeah.
So
I know Harrison Ford wanted his character killed off in Empire.
Yeah, he wanted his character killed off in the original films.
Yeah, I mean, I
Smart man.
have a feeling they're probably. I mean, they could end up doing away with all of them. I mean, at some point, because I mean, they're pretty much kind of like they're going to be in this first film, but then they're going to be kind of like handing the reins over to this new generation.
I mean, if Kylo Ren kills Luke, that's the ultimate setup for the second film. I mean, that's like
it's basically New Hope,
Yeah. So I don't know. It could work.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, because stuff could happen. Like I have theories about it, but it could go either way.
I love the just the look of it. It looks totally separate and different from all other Star Wars films. Even that opening shot where the female character in the mask like opens that thing and you just see her face, like that just doesn't look anything like a Star Wars movie to me. And
Looks
I
like
love
Star
that.
Trek.
No, it really doesn't. Okay, it
kind of does.
But I disagree entirely. I don't think that any part of it looks. I think the only part of it looks like Star Trek at all is some of the action sequences involving like the aircraft like flying around each other.
Yeah.
I think some of that looks very Star Trek-y, but
The X-wings over the water, though.
That looks so good.
and you get a little
really
bit
good.
of a better look at Oscar Isaac as he's walking by and pats the black guy on the shoulder. I'm sorry, I don't know the black guy's name.
Finn. I
Finn.
believe.
Okay, yeah. It looks good. I don't know. Looks very enjoyable. Hope it is.
I really hope it is.
I really hope it's
Yeah.
not. I really hope the Jedis aren't able to flip around and like ninjas, because that's just so boring and stupid.
I just like the old like
It's like a samurai in the original
dueling,
one.
yeah,
It's like samurai dueling, and in the new ones, it's like there's all this ninja flipping Matrix shit, and it's the Matrix.
Yeah.
That's exactly why that is. And I like the Matrix, the first one, but it's just like that's why that happened. It's just so silly.
Crouching Tiger shit.
Allison, do you have anything to add about the new Star Wars trailer?
Not really.
Okay. Just making sure.
Looks good.
I give the trailer
good.
a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Yeah, I'm with you.
that.
I'm just kidding. We're never going to rate trailers on here again. That was just a joke. Anyways,
yeah.
That's going to do it for our show, I believe. Next week, we'll be talking about more
Steve
stuff
Jobs.
we watched.
We're going to see Steve Jobs, right?
Maybe we'll talk about
Witch
Steve
Hunter?
Jobs.
No,
The last
no.
Witch Hunter. But whatever we watch, you can be sure
Steve Jobs.
we'll be talking about it on this show, because that's what this show is about.
We're
About
gonna
what we watch.
Andre Rublev for sure.
Well, yeah, maybe. I don't want to say anything for sure.
For
anymore, because
sure,
we
like
did that. We used to do that a lot.
110%.
Hey, we're gonna watch Dredd next week, and then we never watched it.
I love that. That's funny though.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
okay. Anyways, that's our show. Tune in next week and like our channel on YouTube, please. See ya.
Peace.
Good night, Lord, bid you good night, good night. One of these mornings bright, early and fine. Good night, good night. Not a cricket, not a spirit gonna shout me home. Good night, good night. I go walking in the valley of the shadow of death. Good night, good night. And his rod and his staff shall comfort me. Good night, good night. Oh, John the wine, he saw the sign. Good night, good night. Oh, John say I seen a number of signs. Good night, good night. Till Ep4 they art that wonderful boat. Good night, good night. No, they build it on the land, get water to float. Good night, good night. Oh, tell before the beast at the ending of the wood. Good night, good night. No, he eat all the children when they wouldn't be good. Good night, good night. I remember quite well, I remember quite well. Good night, good night. Now I was walking in Jerusalem just like John. Good night, good night, good night. Good night.